Good morning, honorable members. Greetings to all of you, honorable members. Greetings to the minister and his team, and greetings to the staff of parliament. If I can get an indication, Ms. Boss, if we reach a quorum already.
Morning, Chair, not yet. Oh, I see there are two members who just came in. Let me just accept them before you start.
Okay.
Recording in progress.
Yes, Chair, you may continue.
Okay, can I please have the agenda flighted, if you may? Thank you very much. But I don't see the rest, Ms. Boss. Anyway,
You see me, Honorable Chairperson.
I see the name Gwedemandash. I don't see the picture.
You see me. And you see me, and you hear the nice voice.
Yes, I can hear you are here.
As the current systems.
Yes.
Can
It will change such that
Can I request DDG Moloto to switch off, please?
Come again?
Sorry,
there was,
Minister, I was requesting the
disruption
DDG to switch off the mic. It's fine now.
members, you would know that it's a legislative obligation for us to receive quarterly briefings from the department's performance, aligned with the annual performance presented at the start of each financial year. Today, we will be receiving briefings for the 2024-2025 financial year. In accordance with PFMA, the department is required to brief the committee immediately following the conclusions of each quarter, with the first quarter spanning on April 1 to June 30 of each financial year. And we regret that we were unable to convene after each quarter as mandated due to the election year, which necessitated our focus on onboarding and equipping the members of the committee. Consequently, we are behind schedule, and the department will be presenting all quarters, meaning quarter 1 through to quarter 4. Please note that the budget and performance information being presented pertains to the 2024-2025 financial year. This will reflect the performance framework of the former Department of Mineral Resources and Energy, following the department split during the current administration. The newly established Departments of Minerals and Petroleum Resources and Electricity and Energy continued to operate under the same budget until the commencement of 2025-2026 financial year. Members will remember that we, in the previous year, which is last year, conducted a joint budget debate for this reason. The department's presentation will encompass issues relevant not only to our committee, but also those affecting the Portfolio Committee on Electricity and Energy. And ideally, this would have been a joint meeting with the Portfolio Committee on Electricity. However, due to time constraint, we were unable to secure the participation and we could not delay further given our overdue requirement for processing quarterly reports, and as previously mentioned. Moving forward, we will ensure that the department is called to brief us immediately following the end of each quarter. They will need to brief us on quarter one of the 2025-2026 financial year in July or August this year. Honorable members, with that said, there is the agenda. Anyone for the adoption of the agenda? Are my members still sleeping? Honorable Senne?
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Good morning to you, the Minister, team, and also honorable members. Chair, I would like to move for the adoption of the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I get a seconder, Honorable Hassan?
Thanks, Chair. I'm also feeling a little bit sick this morning. I apologize. I'm happy to move for the seconding of the agenda.
Thank you very much. Any apologies, Ms. Boss?
Good morning, honorable members, honorable minister, and colleagues. So I've got only one apology from Honorable Lorima. He's attending the junior mining in Laba. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. May I hand over to you, Honorable Minister, to take us through, and then we will ask questions and make comments. Over to you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson and honorable members. Let me start by submitting an apology of the DG. Unfortunately, DG is in the panel in the junior mining in Daba. We released him and said, please go there. And the financial report will be tabled by the CFO of the department. And that is the apology. So if that is accepted, Honorable Chairperson, I'm going to call on the CFO to present the report to the committee. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Please go ahead.
CFO.
Thank you, Minister. Good morning, Honorable Chairperson, honorable members, honorable Minister, and fellow colleagues on the platform. In terms of our presentation, Chair, can we ask the Secretariat to kindly give us sharing rights, please? We wish to present the presentation.
CFO, I was told to give it to Olga. I'll give the calls to Olga Telling.
Thank you for that. We're going to put it up in a minute, Chairperson. Go to the presentation online. Chair,
Yeah, we
in terms of the presentation online.
Proceed, CFO, we can see the presentation.
Thank you, Chair. On the first slide, the second slide will be the presentation outline. And in the outline, we have the strategic alignment, which covers the mission, vision, mandate, the 2020 to the 2025 strategic priorities, and then the key focus areas. Chair, in this area, in this section, we will only be presenting the key focus areas. And the second part of the presentation will be on performance information. For the technical performance targets, it will be presented by Mr. Lucas Imlautsi. The financial performance will be presented by myself, Yvonne Chetty. And the third part will be Annexure A, which is additional information, and it is for the annexures on the financial performance plan. So that's the layout of the presentation. If we move on to slide number 6. Chair and members, the key focus areas for the 2024-25 financial year. In terms of the internal processes, we've had the announcement by the Honorable President on the NMARC process, which saw the split of the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy into the Department of Electricity and Energy and the Department of Mineral and Petroleum Resources. The physical split took place on 1 April 2025. We do have a startup structure in both the departments, that's DEE and DMPR. However, the startup structure in some instances is inadequate. We have lost many vacancies through that process. In the main, 2 DDGs from DMRE, DDG Thabo Kakana and Mr. Zizamela Imbambo moved over to Electricity and Energy. The remaining DDGs stayed with DMPR. There has been an MOA that has been signed by both the departments just to oversee the transitional period. There's also been a reprioritization of the budget allocations to enable the execution of priorities. And as indicated, there has been a challenge with filling of vacancies due to the moratorium placed by DPSA and National Treasury. There's also a lack of funding to invest and modernize the critical ICT infrastructure. However, that is receiving some attention in the new financial year. Under mining, the implementation of a modern online mining licensing system is currently in place and progress is being made in that area. There's a review of the MPRDA to address the shortcomings of the current legislation. There's also been an attempt to eliminate mining license backlog. There's been partnering with key stakeholders to address the illegal and illicit mining, supporting exploration activities, and we financially are supporting ASSM and to finalize the mineral strategy. Under petroleum, there has been more effort to ensure compliance in the wholesale and retail sectors. Chair, with that overview, I'm going to hand over to Mr. Lucas Imlausi, who will take us through the technical targets and the performance of the department. But just to point out that our quarterly targets do build up to our final annual target that's in Q4. And these results that you see in front of you is unaudited. The audit by the AG will commence on 1 June 2025 for this financial year of 31 March 2025. I'm going to hand over to Mr. Mlatsi.
Thank you, CFO. Good morning, Chairperson, the members of the Portfolio Committee, Minister. So this slide talks about the cumulative performance of the execution of the APP from Q1 to Q4 of 2024 financial year. I will talk about the end results per quarter and also to indicate that, as you can see, the DMRE consisted of those branches, namely Office of the DG, Financial Management Services, Corporate Services, Mineral and Petroleum Regulation, Mining, Minerals and Energy Policy Development, Mine Health and Safety Inspectorate, Mineral and Energy Resources Studies Programs and Projects, and then lastly, Nuclear Energy Regulation and Management. Those were the programs that were executing the target stated in the APP for 24-25 at DMRE. Now, when you go to first quarter, Chairperson, I'll focus mostly at the bottom where we would have had 61 targets for Q1. And out of the 61 targets which we had, we were able to pull through 46 of those targets, which translates into 75%. And then 15 of those targets were not met for Q1, which is 25%. I must say that in terms of all the not achieved targets, the slides that are going to follow will indicate the reason for deviation, but also will talk about how are we going to address those areas where we did not perform. Then proceed to Q2. In Q2, Chair and members, our total targets for Q2 were 49 and were 62. We were able to pull 49, which is 79%. And the 13 targets, which is 21%, were not achieved. When we go to Q3, at the bottom there, Chair and members, it's 63 targets. And for Q3, 52 were achieved, which translates into 83%. And the 11 targets were not achieved, which is 17%. Now, the last quarter of the year, which is Q4, we had 62 targets. We achieved 49, which translates into 79. And then 13 targets, which is 21%, were not achieved. Next slide. Now, this slide, Chairperson and members, is still giving us the summary of our performance from where we started in April up to 31st March 2025. As you can see, for Q1, the number of targets which we had were 61, and our performance outcomes or results, 75%. Q2, we had 62 targets. Performance outcome is 79% as well. And Q3 was 63 targets, and the outcome was 83%. And Q4, 63 targets, the outcome 79. Next slide. Now, in terms of this one, Chair, these are the key focus areas. In other words, this is the results of the targets that were achieved. Under energy security and access, the focus area covers the indicators that seek to ensure energy security by overseeing the implementation of programs and projects focused on the development, improvement, transformation of electricity generation, transmission, and distribution industry. Now, in terms of the targets that we managed to pull through, 136,026 households were electrified through grid connection, and that 18,540 additional households were electrified through non-grid technology. The Renewable Energy Sector Master Plan was approved by Cabinet in March 2025. 20 energy efficiency demand-side project site inspections were completed with a 0.8773 terawatt savings achieved. Next slide. This is the licensing and regulation area, Chair. This area is focusing, it covers the indicators that seek to bring efficiency in the management, administration, and evaluation of prospecting and mining rights in the effort to regulate the mining and energy sector. The targets there, which were accomplished, 70% authorization applications were processed within the required timeline. 399 mining rights and permits were issued to historically disadvantaged entities and individuals against the target of 200. 2,596 mining rights, prospecting rights, and mining permits applications were finalized against a target of 2,440. We made progress with the implementation of the online mining system, which is the cadastry. Next slide. This is an area that speaks to compliance and enforcement. The focus area covers the indicators that seeks to address the department's efforts to ensure technical, economic, and legal compliance and enforcement in line with the Petroleum Products Act, as well as national treasury regulations, environmental, and other pieces of legislation. The targets that were achieved there is that 249 inspections were conducted against the annual target of 212. 162 legal compliance inspections were done against a target of 150. We also have 523 mine inspections conducted against a target of 500. Those are a little bit of our overachievements. 1,502 environmental inspections were done against the annual target of 1,374. 1,640 petroleum retail site inspections were completed against a target of 1.5. All 40 SOEs submitted their quarterly performance report and they were reviewed and submission was produced. They also submitted their annual reports, which were tabled in Parliament. 7 of the Schedule 3 SOE annual performance plans were also approved. 4 shareholder compacts and corporate plans for Schedule 2 SOEs were received. 80% of reported incidents of corruptions requiring investigations were referred for investigation within the required timeline. Next slide. Here we're talking about the mine health and safety. This focus area covers the indicators that seek to address the department's efforts to safeguard the health and safety of mine employees, including communities and people affected by the mining activities. The targets there is that 9,068 inspections and audits were conducted. Our annual target is 8,000. A total of 601 accidents were initiated, investigations were done, and 613, which is 102%, were completed. A total of 36 accident-initiated inquiries as well, and 35, which is translating to 96%, were completed. The Mine Health and Safety Inspections Annual Report was produced and tabled in Parliament. 72 occupational health and safety regional tripartite workshops were conducted. 86 medical appeals were received, and 97, which is 89%, were also completed. 83% of Chief Inspector of Mine appeals were processed and finalized. 2,313 MPRDA applications were received, and that 2,090, which is 99%, were completed. Next slide. This one, Chair, it's an area that talks about economic development and empowerment. The focus area covers the transformation and job creation, economic participation in the mining and petroleum sectors. The targets accomplished there is that 12,715 jobs were enabled through the issuing of mining rights against a target of 8,000, overachievement there. 765 jobs were enabled through the granting of new-to-industry petroleum retail licenses against a target of 600, also an overachievement. 134 SLP's development projects were completed in this particular financial year. Our annual target was 132, so we made extra SLPs there. 100% of all invoices were paid within a period of 30 days. With regard to small-scale miners, funding agreements with 3 small-scale miners and 3 women small-scale miners were concluded. 6 exploration projects were approved for funding against a target of 5. Next slide. Here is about policy development. This focus area covers the indicators that seeks to address the development of integrated minerals and energy policies to promote transformation, investment, and sustainable development in the mining and energy sectors. Our performance there is that the Petroleum Product Bill was submitted to Cabinet, to Gazette for public comments. And the Mine Health and Safety Act Bill and National Petroleum Company Bill were also submitted to Cabinet for approval to submit to Parliament. The MPRDA Bill was submitted to the Office of the Chief State Law Advisor for certification. The Radio Waste Management Fund Bill was also submitted to DPME for final CS. The final draft regulations for the Electricity Regulation Act was developed. Gas Amendment Bill was submitted to Cabinet for approval to submit to Parliament. The inception report on the IEP methodology and final structure was produced. The energy production and consumption data report was produced. The critical mineral strategy for South Africa was presented at the ESET cluster post the stakeholder engagements. Next slide. Focus area here, Chair, is about strategic partnership. This focus area seeks to increase investment and job creation in the mining and petroleum sectors. In terms of the performance, there is that 10 investment promotion events were hosted or partnered to attract investment in the energy sector cumulatively. 3 reports on the renewed treaty on INGA scheme was produced in South Sudan. On environmental management, it covers indicators that seeks to address the department's efforts to ensure environmental management. The performance results there is that 1 ingress control measure and passive treatment was implemented. We were able to seal 40 unsafe mine shafts. The next area is the one that speaks to nuclear, to strengthen and promote the utilization of the nuclear technology. Performance results there is that 4 quarterly monitoring reports on Kuber Nuclear Power Plant long-term operation program were produced. 4 quarterly monitoring progress reports of the Central Interim Storage Facility were also done. 4 quarterly monitoring progress reports on the multipurpose reactor was concluded. 20 new nuclear security compliance inspections were done. 40 nuclear safeguard compliance inspections were also concluded. IAEA annual report on technical cooperation program was done. A monitoring report on the AFRA program was produced. So that is the targets that were achieved in terms of the highlights. I will now proceed to the targets that were not achieved and also provide the reasons there. So the first target that was not achieved is the one that speaks to fruitless and wasteful expenditure. There we were able to identify 2 incidents that requires investigation. The amount of 18,697 was paid in interest due to the following 2 reasons. The first one was that there was a late payment of invoice from Telkom. The second one, late payment of arbitration award. And in terms of addressing this matter, we reviewed the processes and implementation of consequence management. In terms of irregular expenditure, a service was rendered prior to approval by the delegated official. There we are saying there was an ex post facto payment of 31,000 that was made to Nongoma Lodge. So the same treatment action will be applied there to say we'll review the processes and implement consequence management. With regard to fuel sample tested, we had a target of 1,080 there, but then we only able as of end of March to have 566 fuel sample tested against a target of 1080. This was as a result of delays in the SEM processes to appoint a service provider. However, as we speak now, a service provider has been appointed in December, and the project has begun to run effective from January 2025. With regard to request for proposal for 1,000 megawatts of gas to power issued, we could not pull through this target. And the reason is that a concept note for the 1,000 megawatts gas to power workshop was conducted with key stakeholders, and we are currently reviewing it. So the memoranda of cooperation with the key stakeholders not yet concluded. For design, construction, and ownership of the pipeline is still unclear. But what we are doing there is that ongoing engagement with key stakeholders to finalize the memorandum of cooperation and resolve outstanding issues is being done in consultation with other stakeholders. The second one is that 257 megawatts from 21 projects is currently in constructions, and that no project reached a commercial operation date. So in that instance, we are saying as a department, will use the provisions that are articulated in the power purchase agreement, where we will be penalizing the IPPs companies for failing to reach commercial date. Same applies to the one that speaks to additional capacity brought online. The framework on the approach for distribution asset management, which is called ADAM, we could not complete this project. However, there are milestones which we were able to complete. The first milestone is component 1, which speaks to the review of previous work done. The second milestone is the market assessment, and followed by the program design for phase 2 of ADAM. So the treatment action is that the project is ongoing as we speak, and the department is chairing the project steering committee to monitor project implementation. So we are saying this project is expected to be completed in January 2026. The target on the report on monitoring progress for the 2,500 megawatts new nuclear build program has not been completed. This is as a result of the withdrawal of the Section 34 determination on the 2,000 megawatts for a nuclear new build program, and that the minister is appointing an industry expert panel that will be able to advise on how to implement this 2,000 megawatts new nuclear build program going forward. Policy development, the following policies, those targets were not achieved. The first one is the one that speaks to the Radio Waste Management Fund bill submitted to Cabinet for approval to submit to Parliament. This is simply because of the consultation with National Treasury on the bill, which was delayed, and also which is essential to support the revision of the Radio Waste Management Fund bill. The department is developing a business case for the establishment of the bill of the fund, and we are awaiting for the money bill from National Treasury because it is a basis that we should follow. The IRP 2023 submitted to Cabinet was not accomplished simply because additional stakeholders were held in Q3, and this affected the planned timeframes on completion of this particular project. As we speak now, the IRP is at NEDLEC, and the department will await the conclusion of the NEDLEC process and then proceed to Cabinet after June this year. Modeling assumption integrated energy plan developed. We could not pull through this target simply because there were procurement processes that delayed us to finalize the appointment of a service provider. So an intervention has been sought through the collaboration with the Spanish Embassy to complete this project. The renewed treaty on Inga hydropower scheme project was not completed. This is because the treaty on Inga was not implemented and only the South Sudan project was done. DRC did not sign the treaty. They requested for the review of the treaty in its entirety with special emphasis on areas that have financial implications. The DEE has got a new APP for 25-26, and this target will be completed by DEE, and they are engaging with DERCO in this regard. Environmental management, we had a target where we planned to address 3 derelicts and ownerless mine, and also the rehabilitation thereof. We managed to do 2, and 1 was not done, simply because there were persistent bad weather and the rain, which delayed the completion of the project. And that we are saying it is in our APP for this year, and the remaining derelict and ownerless mine will be completed in this financial year. Mining sector, women empowerment and gender equity strategy, it goes concurrently with the below one, the one that speaks to the youth empowerment strategy. It has not been completed, but we are saying the draft strategy is in place pending the consultation processes. And that the consultation process will commence in Q1 of this year. So meaning in our APP for 25-26, we will be pushing this project up to its conclusion. Thank you, Chairperson. Over back to you, CFO.
Thank you, Chair. I will now take the committee through the quarterly performance. On this slide, the graph shows an overview of the budget per quarter, the actual expenditure, and the variance per quarter. In Q1, we did have an underspending of 179.4 million rand. In Q2, those are the purple figures on the graph. In Q2, we had 239.1 million underspend, which has increased from Q1 to Q2. In Q3, it increased to 520.2 million, also an underspend, and I will provide reasons for that, Chair. And in Q4, we see a substantial decrease in the underspending. It's down to 54.8 million rand. In the previous financial year, 23-24 financial year, we returned to Treasury 390 million rand. We had an underspending of 3.8%. In this financial year, we have an underspending of 54.8 million, which is 0.6%, which is significantly lower than the prior financial year. And in the main, Chair, the main reason for that significant decrease, management took a firm decision to hold each other accountable, which assisted in shifting the performance. So underperforming projects were addressed at regular meetings at Exco. So we did see a shift in that performance. I'll move over to the next slide and provide the reasons. On this slide, Chair and members, it shows the budget of 8.881 billion rand, which we had for the financial year, divided into the main categories being compensation of employees, goods and services, transfers and subsidies, payments for capital assets, and payments for financial assets. So for each quarter, we had a budget, an actual expenditure, and a variance. I'm going to, for Q1, I did indicate was 179 million underspend. In Q2, we had 239. Seeing the increase in the underspending. I just want to spend some time and give the reasons thereof. Under goods and services, we had 240 million underspending. That's under Q2. For that goods and services underspending, it was mainly due to INAP, non-grid, of 169.9 million. And the main reason for that underspending was the appointment or the delayed appointment of a service provider. We did experience some challenges with the evaluation committee, that was the availability of those committee members, due to competing priorities. We had mine rehabilitation, that were payments to Council for Geoscience and Mintech to the value of 60.2 million, included in the 240 million. And in the main, it was a delay due to the revision of the procurement model. We used to, these two entities used to undertake the work for the department, and there were some revisions necessary in terms of remaining with these two entities to continue with the work. So that procurement model needed to be revisited. Water ingress mines was also included there, and energy efficiency and demand side monitoring and verification that made up in the main the 240.3 million rand. We did have an overspend under transfers in Q2 of 3.2 million. And the main reason for that is under energy efficiency and demand side management grant of 4.9 million, which was withheld from 3 municipalities, and against an overspend of membership fees of 9 million that was to ADPA. That was an expenditure brought forward from 23-24 financial year. So that gives you the overspending of 239 in Q2. If we move over to Q3, which has increased to 520 million underspending, and the main reasons here will be goods and services of 115.7 million. And the main reasons in Q3 under goods and services is mine rehabilitation. It's the same of 18.91 million. It's also to CGS and Mintech. But the amount has come down substantially. Water ingress, 18.3 million. And INAP non-grid, 68.9 million. We did have some interruptions caused by demands from business operating within that areas. And we had fuel sample testing, which was delayed because we needed a legal opinion from the state attorney. Under transfers and subsidies, we had a big underspend of 392 million. In the main, it was INAP of 305 million. And then we've had transfers to municipalities. That's INAP and transfers to municipalities. This significant transfers that was withheld from municipalities due to the DORA conditions. The DORA Act is very clear, and the process must be adhered to. There's a strict criteria set down, and the municipalities have to adhere to those criteria that has been set and agreed to, and the deliverables are measured accordingly. If they don't meet due to that non-compliance, those transfers are withheld, and this process is managed between the department and National Treasury. And then there was membership fees of 9.14 million. So in the main, it makes up the 392 million of underspending. I'm now going to move over to Q4. Under compensation of employees, we've had 20.4 million underspend. Under goods and services, we had 30.2 million underspending. Under transfers, we had 3.2 million underspend and a small 918,000 under payment for capital assets. On the next slide, I will spend some time to provide the reasons for those variances. Under compensation of employees, the 20.43 million. In the main, chairperson and members, because of the moratorium placed on vacancies by DPSA and National Treasury, we could not fill the vacant positions, which did accumulate to an underspend. And when we have the announcement of the new ministry, that's DEE, we had to fill in vacancies. We did apply to National Treasury for unforeseen and unavoidable expenditure, which was granted to the value of 18 million rand. However, those vacancies were filled against the savings that was accumulated through the financial year. So it was mainly due to the vacancies that we could not fill. Goods and services. Planned expenditure in this classification was 1.2 billion, while the expenditure was 1.245 billion, resulting in an underspend of 30.27 million. The 30.27 million is mainly due to INAP non-grid service providers of 575,000. However, we did request a rollover in our application to National Treasury. The nuclear new build project, 4 million, underspending due to a decision to defer the nuclear new build funding model study until a strategy has been developed, and which will be done now by the new Department of Electricity and Energy. Also contributing to the 30 million is operating leases for 5 million. It's underspending mainly due to invoices from DPWI that came in late and could not be paid timely. Continuing under goods and services, of the 30 million that was underspent, venues and facilities contributed 5.8 million. And here, chair and members, we did have an underspending. But funding itself, we tried to utilize it for the G20 expenditure. In the budget for the 24-25 financial year, we did not have any funding that was allocated for the G20. And we, within the budget, had to make provision for that expenditure, which we tried to do through venues and facilities in securing 2 venues for G20, one in Cape Town and the other one in Northwest. We managed to make the bookings timeously through the travel agent. However, the billing from the travel agent to the department did not come in timeously. So it will be paid in the new financial year. We have requested a rollover of 4.9 million in this regard. Computer services was underspent, and the 2 main reasons for that was the backup system in the department could not go ahead. We had completed the entire procurement process for this project, but the amount that was charged by the bidders exceeded the budget available, and we could not proceed. And there were also some technical issues that was found in this process that we could not proceed. The mining licensing system, we required technical and advisory support, and we did have some challenges on the terms of reference, and we'd had multiple revisions. Eventually, the department did appoint CSIR for the service, as they could also provide value-added services in this regard. The appointment happened late in the financial year, so the spending will happen in the new financial year. Payment for capital assets, 918,000 underspending. There was a delay in the delivery from the service provider. However, we have requested a rollover for capital assets. Next slide, please. Under transfer payments, we've had 2 delays. One is water management solutions subsidies for marginal mines. On this transfer, we have a very strict criteria in which bidders are appointed, and none of the applications received met that criteria set. International membership fees, we had an underspend of 1.1 million, and it's detailed there. It's IAEA, IEF, GIF, ARPA, and ADPA. Next slide, please. Chair and members, we've had a 54.8 million underspend. I've given it to you by economic classification. That is the main division of the vote. And now I'm going to do so. The very same variance of 54.8 million is now by program, which will somewhat talk to the performance that Mr. Mlaudzi presented. However, not on a one-to-one basis. It doesn't have that relation, but we will talk to it. Administration at an underspending of 29.6 million. Minerals and Petroleum Regulation, underspend of 6 million. Mining, Minerals and Energy Policy Development, 4.7 million. Mine Health and Safety Inspectorate, 1.2 million. Programs and Project, 10 million. Nuclear Energy Regulation, 3 million. And I will provide the reasons for those, Chair, at a high level. Program 1. The main reason is compensation of the 29 million underspend. Contributing to that 29 million underspend is Program 1, which covers the Ministry, the DG's Office, Finance, Corporate Services, Internal Audit, and Risk Management. Is compensation of employees, 13.8 million. And as I've indicated in the prior slides, it was mainly due to the unfilled vacancies. Goods and services, we had a 14.8 million underspending, and the significant contributors were operating leases, 4.5, which was due to DPWI invoices that was received late. Computer services, I've explained, it was the backup system and the mining licensing system. And then transfers to the households was a small amount. And then payment for capital assets, 918,000, which was requested as a roll forward. Under Minerals and Petroleum Regulation branch, which had an underspend of 6 million. And the main reason for their underspending in this program is compensation of employees due to the moratorium placed on vacancies. Goods and services at an underspend of 1.3 million across several items. And one of the main contributors of their underspending under goods and services was the fuel sampling, which required a legal opinion from the State Attorney. Mining, Minerals and Energy Policy Development at an underspending of 4.7 million. The variance is due to cost that was planned for G20 as well. There were many other meetings that were set that was meant to be set, and it also included some consumables and printing, etc. under this program that was set aside and was hoping that we would be utilized by year end, but that wasn't the case. Mine Health and Safety expenditure in this program was 1.2 million underspend, and this was in goods services across various items. I'll spend a little bit more time on programs and projects, which had a bigger underspend of 10 million. Yeah, Chair and members, it was under goods and services that this program did not perform as projected. Venues and facilities, we had 3.82 million underspending. It was due to planned workshops and engagements that did not take place as anticipated. It's not that these things did not take place in totality. Some of these events did take place, but took place virtually, and so we could achieve an underspending. However, that underspent amount, the department utilized it to secure 2 venues for the G20, which I indicated was in Cape Town and Northwest. We paid 50% as a deposit to secure those venues, and we will be paying for it in the new financial year. And a rollover has been requested in this regard. INEP non-grid service provider, it was due to the late receipt of invoices which fell outside the payment processing period, and we've requested a rollover. Budget savings were realized in INEP non-grid oversight, monitoring, and evaluation project, and this was due to the lower than anticipated cost charged by the service provider. Transfer payments under programs and projects, underspending of 2.4 million, and in the main, it was the pumping subsidies to marginal mines, which I did indicate we did not receive any qualifying applications from mining companies. Nuclear energy regulation and management at an underspend of 3 million. And the main reason is that it was under goods and services category with 2.2 million underspent. This was funding plan for the nuclear new build project financial model study, which was not utilized in 24-25, as no suitable service provider was identified during the initial request to the market. A decision has been taken to delay this process and to allow the finalization of a new strategy for the nuclear procurement. And that brings me to the end of the financial presentation, Minister and Chair. And the Annexure A has been provided for additional information. Can I hand back to you, Minister? Thank you.
The minister, it looks like he is muted. Minister, it's back to you.
Hello?
Yes, the CFO is done. Back to you before I come in.
No. Let me return it to you, Honorable Chairperson, because the presentation is complete now. And it's on something very complicated called finances. I think we must answer questions now and try to answer them. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Minister. We will now take questions. But I need to explain something, Minister, before we proceed. We have slightly changed the way we ask questions. So there will be a member who has 10 minutes inclusive of your response, meaning the interaction will have around 10 minutes. And then we pass to the next member. And we found it very effective when we interacted with SEF. But I must add that it is only in the presence of the decorum of Parliament that we will achieve what we want to. And last week we saw that decorum, hoping that it will proceed even today. It may be a bit difficult because we are virtual, but I think your team knows which question belongs to who. So you will have to have them coming in as and when they think the question relates to them. We're good. Honorable members, can I note hands for questions, comments? I don't see any hand. Honorable members, are you there? Honorable Zondi?
We are here, Chair.
Honorable Zondi, you will be the first. Honorable Hassan, you will be second. Honorable Mufukeng, you will be third. Honorable Ntlangwini, you'll be fourth. Honorable Silepe, you'll be fifth. Honorable Nchabeleng, you'll be sixth. I think I have captured all of you. We'll go in that order. Can you start, Honorable Zondi?
Thank you, Chairperson. Let me first start by greeting the Minister, the former acting President, as well as the administration staff, as well as my colleagues in the committee, as well as you, Chairperson. My first question is with regards to the department. Now, I know that the departments were divided into two last year. But do you think, or does the department neglect the petroleum wing of its mandate? The 2024-25 focus areas for mining are exhaustive and clearly defined, but there's only one obscure focus area for petroleum. That is my first question, Chair.
Anyone to take the question? Minister? Can we have it seamless? If you feel that that question is directed to you, just chip in so that we don't bother the minister by allocating who must answer what. I'm sure you know which question goes.
No, let me deal with this one.
Okay.
Yeah. We have come to the portfolio committee several times and said the restructuring of the department and breaking it into two, mineral and petroleum, electricity and energy, though it looks like a negative intervention to many, to us it looked as a positive intervention in the sense that it gave us space and an opportunity to elevate petroleum to the level it should be, because petroleum is a source of about 80% of energy sources in the world. But when it is discussed, it is always playing a second fiddle to technologies like your renewables and others. So we have said that ourselves, and we are working very hard to revive petroleum as a sector. That is what we are doing. That's why one of the latest interventions was the launch of the South African National Petroleum Company. Those are all efforts to actually pull petroleum to the level it should be. Lastly, we have submitted that actually oil and gas are going to be the source of growth in the economy once we actually get a formula to manage it properly as an economic sector. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You can proceed.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Honorable Minister, for the response. I do take it that you do look at petroleum and see it as a cornerstone of our economy. Hopefully, in future, the focus targets will be more than one to reflect that spirit. My second question is with regards to mining permits that were finalized. It's 2,596. But context isn't given in terms of how many total applications were received. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Mandasha.
Makubela.
Sorry, Minister, Mr. Makubela is not present with us, but Mr. Mlaudzi will respond to the question.
Okay, Mlaudzi.
Thank you, Minister. May I humbly request the member to repeat the question so that I can zoom into that particular slides of the highlights for mining permits, and I will be able to assist.
So the mining applications or the mining permits finalized were 2,596. Saying that context wasn't given in terms of how many in total were received, so that we can see in terms of your targets, it is an achievement, but we want to see for context with regards to the total applications received.
This one is a little bit tricky now, because as you can see there, we have a target of 2,470. So in terms of the receipt, you'll appreciate that we do receive a lot of them. And well, it depends in terms of how many were approved, how many were disapproved, and there are reasons to that. But if there is a need for us to receive or to respond to this question in writing, we'll gladly do so, because we need to go to our data so that we say these were received, these were declined, these were approved. And it's something that needs us to go and peruse the documents, and we should be able to provide an appropriate, correct answer.
Thank you. I think maybe a written response would assist us. So I will await that from your side. My third question is with regards to the fuel samples that were tested. I do understand that there was a bit of an issue there and you couldn't test all in terms of your target. What is the geographical spread in terms of the tested samples? And is there an identified hotspot for illuminating paraffin dilution of diesel based on the ones that you tested? And I think it was north of 500.
This one, again, it needs the analysis of the documents in terms of the spread geographically throughout all the provinces to tell you exactly that, because it is done by a company that would have employed to do the testing. So the geographical areas that would have made that number also required the analysis of the data that we have, and we will gladly respond to this one in writing as well.
Thank you. I would have thought the department would do actually that analysis, because if you do want to cap this, you would actually look at the hotspots geographically and see where you inspect more based on that data that you are getting. So hopefully we do also receive that data as well.
Let me apologize for both these questions. The technical questions, they are falling in the regulation section of the department. I have called for Makubela to be pulled out of the junior mining. That's what happened when activities clash. I apologize for this, but you'll get these answers in writing. Ideally, the DDG for regulation should be able to give you answers to all these questions, to both of them. But I apologize. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, for that. My last question, seeing that there's an underspend under the technical services for the new cadastral system, will the June go live deadline be achieved? And how far are we to achieving that, maybe percentage wise?
Chair, the response to this question, we have made substantial progress. Here again, Chair and Honourable Zondi, Mr. Makubela, who is not present, as Minister indicated his apology, is responsible for this project. In terms of percentage spend, we would be able to respond to you in writing as well. It's our apologies for that, Chair and members. Mr. Makubela couldn't join us, but these questions pertain to him. So we will get you those responses. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for that response. Chairperson, seeing that I still have some time, I would like to ask maybe one last question with regard. Chairperson?
Yeah, you have seconds. I'm not sure whether actually you no longer have time. I don't know whether
Just one last quick question, Chairperson. If the targets that are not achieved, it's being said that they'll be pushed to or will be achieved in the first quarter of this financial year, will those then form part of the new targets or they will not? Thank you, Chair.
Yes, yes, honorable member. They will still be reflecting in the APPs of 25-26. And like we indicated, some will be achieved in Q1, Q2, and so on. But yes, indeed, they are reflected in the new APPs.
Thank you very much, Honorable Zondi. The next person to ask questions, Honorable Hassan.
Thanks very much, Chair. Just a couple of questions. The first is that there have been a number of proposed strategies aimed at enhancing the roles of women and youth in the mining sector, and they've been approved for consultation, yet remain to be finalized. What's caused the postponement of these consultations, and what are the tangible results anticipated from them? That's my first one, Chair.
Let's give it a go. So strategy.
Member, is two of them. We've got one that speaks to mining sector women empowerment, and we've got a second one that speaks about the mining youth empowerment strategy and implementation plan approved. So those were the indicators and the target that we have planned. But then the issue is that we have stakeholders, and then we've got people that have got an interest in ensuring that these guidelines, this framework, accommodate all the. So the reason was that we've got.
Honorable Minister, can you mute to give Mr. Mlaudzi some time to respond?
No, my apologies. I'm gonna graduate. Now we're standing up. Sorry, my apologies.
Okay.
So the reasons for deviation, honorable member, is that we would require a complete consultative process with all the relevant stakeholders. And once everybody has made their inputs as well as contribution to the document, then we'll be able to finalize it. You can see that we are saying that it goes back to the other questions to say those that were not achieved, what are we doing with them? We have articulated this particular indicator in our 25-26 financial year, and we have planned to finalize them in Q1 of 25-26. Thank you.
Okay, Chair, I'm covered. We'll keep an eye on that. Next question is 2 out of 3 abandoned mine sites, and that's not too many, underwent rehabilitation as a result of weather-related delays. That's according to the report. What strategies does the department intend to implement to address these external disruptions in upcoming rehabilitation initiatives? And I want to clobber that, Chair, also with climate resilience approaches, because it's one thing right now that we're trying to rehabilitate mines, but we do need to, sorry, as I indicated earlier, I'm struggling a bit with the throat. We need to ensure that there's climate resilience in our approach there as well, because weather-related delays, that's one thing, but it's only going to get worse. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. DDG Monoto, can you respond, please? DDG Monoto?
Can I deal with the climate resilience in the meantime?
Yes, Minister.
Go ahead, Minister.
Let me deal with this one. It is one of the interesting challenges for the mining industry, in the sense that if you look back, Honorable Chairperson, in 2007, 2008, there was a series of conferences that developed a framework for what is called balanced development or responsible development. The problem in our situation in South Africa is that we've moved to the extreme of putting ecology against economics. And therefore, it's either economics or ecology. And as a result of that, there's no progress made where we should be making progress. Actually, the approach that was developed then, and it came up in the case as well, that was submitted to court that time, was that it is an important effort for all of us to integrate economics and ecology. So climate resilience should be located within economic activities. Economic activities should be directed to be done responsible to protect climate. So I think if we can have that corrected, we'll move a long way. That's why, for example, contradiction between a department like Mineral and Petroleum and FFE become so glaring because FFE sometimes relate to us as a policeman who is actually there to stop projects. The reality is that we should not stop projects, we should do development and do it responsibly, and therefore integrate economics and ecology. Thank you very much. Mloto?
Sorry, Chair. Sorry, Minister. We seem to have lost DDG Moloto.
Can I ask my other question in the meanwhile, Chair, for time?
Proceed, Honorable Hassan.
Thanks.
Sorry, Hassan. Sorry, Honorable Hassan.
No, it's fine. We'll get that response. Just let me ask it before Chair chows my time.
Can you hold on, Honorable Hassan? Honorable Mantashe?
Honorable Chairperson, if it was for me, I would adjourn this session. Because if the department is not present here, how are we going to answer the questions?
No, it's fine. We will take them in writing where there is no response.
Yeah.
Remember, we are also acknowledging that there was no meeting up until late last week where we said we have a Tuesday that is open. Why can't we take the quarterly report? So we are well aware, we understand it's not completely your fault. We contributed to it as well. But let's get information that is available. The ones that we can't, let's have it in writing. I'm sure honorable members, you are fine with that.
Thanks, Chair. I'm fine with that. I'll also submit my outstanding questions in writing to the department. But with what I've got left, my next question, excuse me, the department surpassed its job creation goals, enabling 12,700 jobs, just over, compared to the targeted 8,000. What systems exist to ensure the sustainability and quality of these jobs, but especially in the realm of small-scale mining? Thanks.
Dongo.
DDG Kakana?
Hi, Chair. I tend now to agree with the Minister. What is this that we are subjected to by the department today?
No, let's give it a try, and we'll see as and when we go. I'm feeling what you are feeling. Can we have the response if possible?
Yes, Chair. On the job, the overachievement, if the Chair allows, the overachievement for the jobs is that is that the clients have responded positively to the invite to come and execute their rights. That is why there was an overachievement there, Chair.
Okay. Honorable Hassan, is your question to, I can't remember whether you asked the question to DDG Makubela as well. He's on the platform.
I did. I think it was about the mine rehab, but I'm also happy to submit in writing. So effectively, what that second question was is that we've only.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me quickly go.
Mr. Makubela, did you get the question?
Yes, Chair. Thank you very much, and apologies. I just came out of the session, but I got the question. So, Chair, in response to the question, the jobs are linked to a mining rights. So we know that when we issue a mining right, there is a mining works program that is attached to that. And in that, they are supposed to sustain a certain number of jobs. So we do believe that for the duration of that mining right, those jobs will be sustainable. Of course, towards the end of the ore body, there is a scaling down. But I think given the number of years that is usually associated with mining right, we are satisfied that those jobs are sustainable. Thank you.
Honorable Hassan?
Chair, I'm going to submit in writing because I don't think my question's answered, but I take into cognizance that DDG only just came into the platform now. My last one is actually about Project Inga. I know it's been entrusted to DEE, but given that we're receiving the previous financial year when there was still a joint department, I thought I'll just ask it anyway. Yeah, there've been a series of setbacks and they've been talked about in this report, but what strategies are in place or intended to be in place to employ and harnessing those regional collaborations, such as SADC, to basically propel not only this initiative, but other energy initiatives. And I'll throw in there also, around the discovery of gas off the Namibian coast. We know what's going on in Mozambique, etc. And what insights have basically been gained from the Inga postponement. Thanks.
May I give it a first try? Project Inga is not our project. It's a DRC project. It has been given to the Australians and no, to the Spanish and the Chinese. We have a right to buy an equity in it, which will have to be approved by the DRC. We have not bought that equity. So we can't really be pretending to be managing the Inga project. It is not our project. We have committed ourselves for a quantity of energy that will be taken up by South Africa.
Okay, thank you.
But the driving of the project is out of us. Okay.
Did you get the response, Honorable Hassan?
Chair,
Honorable
I'll
Hassan?
I'll submit in writing. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Honorable Mufukeng.
Good morning, Chairperson, Honorable Minister, and members of the committee. Chairperson, my first question, through its annual review mechanisms, what methods does the department employ to assess the real effects of change on historically marginalized communities, particularly in light of persistent issues such as illegal mining and youth unemployment? Thank you, Chair.
DDG Makubela.
Honorable Minister.
DDG
I hear
Makubela.
somebody calling
Can I
Makubela.
Makubela. Okay, let me give it the first push. Let me give it the first push. There's one thing that, from me, is always surprising when I come to the committee, where mining is regarded as an omnibus. It is supposed to deal with everything and anything beyond mining. And I think that issue will have to be structured by the committee and give us a framework that they want us to work on. For example, the question here, it talks of marginalized communities. And there's an expectation of the mining industry to deal with that. And half the time when we have that discussion, there is a view that there is no municipality responsible for a particular area. And therefore, mines must do everything and anything basically social and labor plan, that is our practical experience, Honorable Chairperson, are expected to replace IDPs in many municipalities. I think that is a distortion. That also include the ease of illegal mining. We have been repeating here that we're not a ministry of illegal mining. Illegal mining is a criminal activity. Once people get involved into illegal mining, their minister is the minister of police, it's not us. But every time we come to the committee, we are expected to answer questions on illegal mining, which is a criminal activity. I think sometimes it borders on being unfair, and the expectation of what we should do about that still escape my mind. Makubela, are you ready?
No, thank you very much, Minister. So, in as far as illegal mining, from our side, we make sure that when there is mine closure, the rehabilitation is done to such an extent that there is a prevention. For example, now, if you look at Stilfontein, the rehabilitation that is taking place there is such that there won't be any possibility of illegal mining in the future. If I got the question, that is what we are working towards. Thank you.
Honorable Mfuge.
Chairperson.
Proceed to your next.
Yes, I'll go to my second question. The overall performance achievement varies, ranging from 75% to 83% across different quarters. What particular elements led to the decline in Q1, and what strategies does the department intend to implement to maintain elevated performance standards? Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Mlaudzi.
Yeah, in Q1, the variance was that it could have been issues that relate to effective project management and project implementation. So what the department has done through the DG, we have established what we call operational exco, where we are tracking and monitoring performance and all other operational issues within the department. I think that has helped us a lot in terms of improving the performance as opposed to what we were doing in the past. So the continuous monitoring, tracking of performance through the ops meeting is the one that has contributed to the improvement when you do the comparisons with other quarters. Thanks.
Honorable Mfuge, your last question, if you have.
Yes, I do have, Chair. Thank you, Chairperson. The Minerals and Petroleum Regulation Branch faced challenges in application processing, especially during the second and third quarters, leading to a significant backlog. I would then like to know, Chairperson, what underlying challenges led to this backlog and what methods are being implemented to avert comparable delays moving forward? Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Makubela.
No, thank you very much. I think in answering the question, what I would want to start with is the fact that at any given time, every month, we receive in each region an average of 40 new applications per month. So as we process applications, there are new ones that come in. In the last financial year, in fact, all the quarters that are referred to, we were able to process 2,500 applications. But of course, as I've indicated, there are new ones that come in, and then they just keep the backlog going. Now, how are we going to deal with that going into the future? The cadastral system that is going to be implemented this year will ensure that only applications that qualify get into the system. So, for example, the cadastral system won't allow anyone to apply where there is already an existing mining right or permit that has been issued. That, in our view, is going to reduce the number of applications that we receive because the unnecessary ones won't get into the system. Currently, on all the applications that we receive, for example, for permits and prospecting rights, about 70% of them basically don't make it because they are applying on somebody else's existing license. So that is how we're going to be able to deal with this. But we continue to process. We again have a target of this year of another 2,500 applications, and we don't believe that we will fall short of that as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Ntangweni.
Thank you very much, Chair. I think maybe the department is a bit rusty on the new way of how we are doing things in the committee with the type of questioning. So I think that's why maybe perhaps they are found wanting this morning. But nevertheless, on my first question, the department indicates at the end of Q2, there was a higher spend than projected or by 3.9 million. And the reasons for the higher spend on the communique was on communication due to payment of roaming of cell phones and laptops by officials by traveling to Vienna for a conference. Now, I want to ask, how many officials went on this trip and why is the roaming fees, was it 3.9 million? Couldn't it be kept less?
Sorry, Honorable Shangweni, can we just ask you to repeat the first part of your question, please?
In Q2, there was a higher spend than projected by 3.9 million, and the reasons for the higher spend was on communication due to payment of roaming of cell phones and laptops by officials while traveling to Vienna for a conference. So I want to find out, couldn't we get a much more feasible option than to pay 3.9 just for roaming of tablets and cell phones, and how many officials was on this trip?
Can I just add, CFO, before you answer? Considering on question that is asked by Honorable Ntangweni, considering that in conference halls and hotels, you normally have free Wi-Fi, couldn't it be kept low than 3.1 or 9 million? But how many officials had to incur such cost at that level?
Thank you, Chair. I just want to clarify, in terms of the presentation today, I'm not sure we've mentioned 3.9 million in terms of communication costs to Vienna.
Beyond the presentation, we do look at the information ourselves. So there is that point that there has been a money spent around 3.9 million, and it's due to the roaming of laptops and data on cell phones and all of that. If you don't have the exact answer because it's not in the presentation, you can say so, and then we'll request that you have something in written. But there is that issue that we want to understand what happened.
Noted, Chair. But I do take the point in terms of our even the hotels that we do utilize. When there is free Wi-Fi, officials are encouraged to utilize that free service That's number one. Two, we can confirm there were officials traveled to Vienna and there were a number of trips. I will provide a response in writing for those trips and the number of officials and the reason for the communication increase in that cost. Thank you,
Okay.
Chair.
Sorry, Honorable Tlangweni, I just thought because I had that question, let me pair it with yours. Please continue.
Thank you, Chair. No, there's no problem, Chair. Then I want to find out on the critical mineral strategy of South Africa. In quarter one, it have been achieved, and then quarter two, not achieved. Stakeholders consultation will proceed in quarter three due to delays in finalizing the draft strategy. Now, we have all watched the movie that downplayed our country in the Oval Office last week, and the president of the country made mention of the critical minerals of South Africa. So, by when will we as the committee be and I must know the English word. By when will we, as the committee, be appraised? Yes, with the strategy, and by when will the final cabinet approval be done for the strategy?
No, let me deal with that. Let me deal with that. I think the Oval Office and all that is a deviation. The actual question is, when will we appraise the committee of the strategy? The strategy has been approved by Cabinet. That's why we published it last week. We went public on it. We released it. It was covered by the media in a great deal. All that we can do is to give the committee copies of the strategy. And again, when the committee calls us to do that, we'll do that. But the strategy is complete. We're in the phase where now we're developing implementation strategy, which is a multi-departmental project. That's where we are.
Thank you, Minister. I think we'll need only copies, Chair. I think the department will have to come and present to us the strategy as well. And then I want to delve into that my colleagues have already delved into, which is a huge crisis currently in our country. And I think the department doesn't pay a lot of attention to the fuel adultery that is happening. And we see the targets that are put against, and for someone, one will think to the number of licenses that you are giving out to people for selling fuel or be suppliers of fuel, you will have the exact amount of oversight on those companies. So I just like to find out, one, who is the company that got the contract to do the fuel sampling, and as well, again, the geographical spread in terms of these samples, because I don't think the target do it justice, because one would want to, when you are issuing out fuel licensing, it must be vis-a-vis as well through sampling and oversight of these entities. Thank you.
DDG Makubela.
Oh, thank you very much, Chair. So on the company that has got the contract is an international company that does this for all the companies in the country. It's called SGS. And that company also does fuel sampling for airlines and all other, entities. That's the first thing. Secondly, we take fuel adulteration very seriously. And similar to the issue of derelict and ownerless mine, the number of samples that get taken are a function of the budget that we receive. So we expend all that budget that we receive in making sure that those samples are taken. If we were to receive more money, the coverage would be even much bigger. But thirdly, we have regular meetings with the Revenue Service because fuel adulteration in the main is a tax dodging activity. So we have cooperation with SARS, where, for example, when we find these fuel adulterators, then we refer them to SARS so that they can also go after the tax that these people were avoiding. And we're increasing that cooperation. What we're discussing now with SARS is to change the dye that we use in diesel to make it even more difficult for people to remove the dye, because some of the people now are beginning to try and remove the dye. So there's a process that is underway through the Revenue Service to then procure a much more advanced fuel dye for diesel. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. And I think it's my last one. And thank you, DGD, for sort of acknowledging that we as a country, we issue out licenses, but we can't, we have no effective oversight over all of them due to budget constraints. And that is a major concern, and it needs to be addressed. That once we are giving out licenses, whether it's mining or for fuel supply, it must be measured by the same value of oversight, because how are we going to keep account of what is happening on the ground? Then we will have another scenario, what have happened last week at a mine where over 300 miners were stuck for more than 48 hours underground, because we can't keep track with mine health and safety. And that comes into my last question with the underspending on the mine health and safety. What is the reason mainly for this underspend into this important role that should be keeping miners alive and safe? Thank you, Chair.
Chair, I'll respond to that question. There was, I think, a 1.2 million underspend at Q4, if I remember, yes, for this program. And the main reason, it goes across a number of areas in goods and services. But just to point out, Chair, that we've had cost containment instruction for National Treasury. And in the main, we had to reduce expenditure under goods and services across all categories. And we did see this across all programs, including mine health and safety. So we've had it being across venues and facilities, some in consumables, stationery, in those areas that we've had some underspending. And we had a little bit in vacancies, but not substantial amount in that program. Thank you, Chair.
Can I comment on the stuck miners in Kloof?
Go ahead.
Yes, there was an accident in Kloof where the cage was stuck in the sub-incline shaft. And workers were there, not necessarily in the cage, others were in sections that were blocked by the cage from moving. The most interesting thing about that incident is that it is a Sibanye Stillwater mine, Kloof gold mine. Not a single injury of fatality was reported as a result of that. So, and I think what we should be assessing, rather than to think that things like this don't happen. If you remember the Vaal Reef disaster, it was similar to this one. It happens in mining. But when there is no injury and there's no fatality, we should have a study that will draw lessons out of that to avoid any injuries and any fatalities in those incidents. But this one of the most important things is that though you can talk of more than 300 workers that were trapped, not a single worker has been reported injured or dead. And I think that information is important because sometimes when we throw these numbers, we follow the headline and not apply our mind to the detail. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Thank you, Honorable Nsangweni. Honorable Selepe.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chairperson. Greetings to the Minister and the DPGs. Thank you very much, Chair. Mine, I think it's just a few questions here. My first question, under the compliance and enforcement, I just want to check, Chair, what enforcement was made by the department with regarding of the non-compliance that the committee went to Optimum, where we found that the Optimum is not complying with the regulation in terms of water use license. And then I'm checking because there was an interference from the head office. What enforcement has been made after that report from the committee after we have been made the oversight visit there? Thank you.
DDG Moloto.
No, thank you very much, CFO. Thank you, Chair. So I will take that question. So I think the issue of the water use license, we did explain, perhaps not in detail, that the competence for water use licenses rests with the Department of Water and Sanitation. And where there is non-compliance, effectively, Department of Water and Sanitation, there was communication between them and Optimum, which allowed them to continue operating. So we therefore cannot overrule another regulator because they've allowed the company to operate. We will, I don't have the latest now, whether that has been finalized, and we can undertake to provide that in writing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My second question, with regards the achievement, I check because there's something that does not satisfy me by the target achieved. Because when you look at the target that has been made, all of them are below of what we've achieved. Isn't it that you have set yourself the lower targets so that you can always make more than what we have set the target? Why don't you set the target that will be stretching a bit the work of the department to be effective than setting the target that you know of? Because this one, it shows that the targets that you've set for yourself are the achievable targets. That is why all of them, they are achieved targets. That doesn't give any impression of that you've achieved these targets, because your targets that you set for yourself are way too low compared to the job that, because at the end of the day, we will find that you have the backlog of everything that we are doing, but your target, it shows and reflects that you have achieved this. And then I'm checking, why do you set yourself these targets instead of setting a bigger than this one?
Mr. Lausi?
Thank you, CFO. So the selection and making of choices for targets across the board, be it on the strat plan or on the APP, is discussed and is dependent on the various factors. Like, for instance, when you set up a target, one of the first things that needs to be looked at is that the inputs which refers to the resources, that is one, people, two, and then it will be finance, and then another, etc., etc. So we cannot overplan when we do not have the resources to implement those targets, which will then become activities and finally the outcomes. So it's about also, especially if we're referring to jobs, the mining rights that are being issued is not everybody that is immediately coming into play and create those jobs. But where we have overachieved on the jobs is that the mining industries would have positively responded in terms of utilizing the mining rights that were granted to them.
Thank you. The other question is that the principle of use it or lose it, when is it going to be implemented?
Yes,
Makubela?
thank you, Honorable. Honorable Slebe, who do you want to lose a license?
The principle that you minister mentioned that there will be the principle of that if you don't use it, you will lose it. Then it's been a national anthem. I'm just checking when is it going to be implemented. That is a part of is it not a part of enforcement?
Okay. I can respond to that, Honorable Minister. So I think the issue of use it or lose it, again, I don't want to overemphasize the issue of the cadastral system. One of the features of the new system is that it's going to be able to indicate to us that license X basically is due for a review, is due for an inspection. They have not been submitting reports, and they basically have not done any work in accordance with the mining works program that they submitted. So we would be able to improve the monitoring by just monitoring what they are submitting in terms of reports on progress and so on. So we don't need to specifically set a target date. The system itself will weed out those people that should not be in the
Can the minister close his mic, please, because I can overhear you.
Okay, thank you. Proceed, Mr. Makubela. Sorry about that.
So thank you, Chair. So I think from our side, we are clear that we, for example, we have sent notices for those people that have not done any work, a pre-notice for basically cancellation of the mining right. And there is one or two instances where that has actually happened in the last financial year. Thank you.
Yeah. My question is that, is this principle going to be implemented? Can maybe perhaps the DDG answer me with just a yes or no in this regard, because I want to go to other question. Is it the principle going to be used or implemented?
May I answer that question, DDG? It's a principle, it's implemented, But what we are not going to do is to go around closing down mines. We're not going to do that. We're encouraging people to take mines to productive levels, and particularly people from historical disadvantaged background. We have a responsibility to facilitate their growth and their development rather than rush to close them. But the principle stands.
Minister,
It is
Chair,
the principle stands.
Chair,
Minister, can you just hold on?
yeah, Chair. I think
So,
Minister
Honorable
is
Slepe, Honorable
yes.
Slepe,
Mm.
can you allow him to finish and then you will come back and
Okay.
say
Yes.
he is not answering? Don't interject him before he finishes. You have asked the
Okay.
question.
Thank you.
Can you
But
proceed, Honorable Minister?
okay. The principle of use it or lose it is a principle embodied in the policy and is law in South Africa. We use it, but I'm clarifying the process that sometimes there is a tendency of thinking that we should be going around closing mines. We should not be doing that. We should facilitate development. That is the responsibility that we're having. Thank you.
Honorable Slepe?
Thank you, Chairperson. Oh, my question is not being answered. I was asking the very same principle. I am not saying we should go around or minister go around and close the mines. I'm saying who's having the particular mining right or license that is not using the principle should be implemented in that regard. That was the question. But let me pass because I think he's not sitting well at some point. My last question, Chair, is it with regarding the relic minings? I think there was two that was rehabilitated, and then the one was not because of the weather-related delays. I'm checking how long did the weather affected that particular rehabilitation? Because according to the plan, the rehabilitation plan, you know the seasons, the rainy seasons that might affect or disturb the plan. Then you consider to shift that on the particular dry season where there's no rain, then you can start and commence that rehabilitation. I'm checking what was the plan according to those who are doing that plan. And the area where this thing was happening, that situated the rehabilitation in that mine.
DDG Moloto.
Thank you, CFO. Good afternoon to the Minister, the Honorable Chair, honorable members of the committee, my colleagues. On the issue of why we rehabilitated only 2 out of the 3 and the fact that the weather was the reason why we could not complete. It's just a pity that this year we've experienced a lot of rain, which then made the rehabilitation to go very slow. It's not like in all the rehabilitation processes you find this happening, but unfortunately, a lot of rain that happened this year made the process slow. And then the process is ongoing, and we should be finalizing the rehabilitation by mid-June, around 15th of June. We should be finalizing because work is underway now that the rain has subsided. Thanks, Minister. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Slepe. Sorry?
Thank you very much.
Okay. Can we pass to Honorable Slepe? Are you saying something?
Thank you very much.
Okay. Honorable Nchabele?
Thank you so much, Chair. Good morning, members, honorable members. Good morning, Minister, and as well as the DDGs and the committee. My questions are quite a few. I hope we can go through them. One, I think, let me start with the quick one, which would actually just break the ice here on my side. There was a draft strategy that the department has put up in terms of youth empowerment and the implementation of the strategy. In your performance, it shows that the department hasn't been able to finalize this draft strategy due to consultation process. Can we get an indication of what level of consultation and when will this be finalized?
Chair, we would have wanted DDG Kakana to respond, but is not responding at the moment. Can we agree to provide this response? Are you here? Okay, please go ahead then.
CFO, yes. Okay, thank
Sorry,
you. Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Chair and Honorable Minister and the colleagues. Good morning. Yes, the strategy was actually developed. It's just that with the split, we were actually delayed in finalizing it, but I'll say 99% of it is actually complete. So I think with the split, obviously, that will, in the current year, the DMPR colleagues will eventually, take it through its conclusion. Thank you, Chairperson.
No, my question was not answered. I said, can you explain to us what are the reasons to the delay and what is the strategy? You said you're supposed to have met it by Q1.
Yes, the strategy it's in line with our broader transformation strategy, which looks into the youth, women, and people with disabilities within the sector. So we underestimated the amount of consultation work that is required. Hence, we had all those delays in the last financial year. But having learned that, obviously, we will conclude the critical consultations that were outstanding, and that strategy will be eventually be finalized and presented to this committee.
Okay, and then what does the strategy consultation entail?
Well, Chairperson, at the current moment, I will not be able to answer the details on that, but most importantly, it's just to ensure that there is transformation within the sector, there's youth representation within the sector in the various programs that we are currently running.
Okay. A second question is there's this repeat of the treaties with regards to the INGA as well as the South Sudan. I'm not so sure why are this reports still included in the department's processes, because first of all, we don't know where to locate the INGA project in respect to South Africa's energy, mining and petroleum resources. Second to it is the South Sudan exploration. Yes, it's relating to oil and gas, but where do we relate it? What does it mean and how is it structured? There are treaties, there are agreements, they've been actually in between South Africa and going in between with regards to South Sudan. But what is the project all about? I think more focused on the South Sudan.
DDG Nzimande?
Nzimande, go.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, Honorable Members and Minister. So maybe let me start explaining the Grand Inga Hydro Project. That project is owned by the Congolese, the DRC project, but South Africa is an off-taker. So when the agreement was entered into between South Africa and the DRC, South Africa committed to off-take 2,500 megawatts. But over the years, the project development has been delayed, which is not our part because it's not our project. We are just an off-taker. However, we have been maintaining relations and continuing to communicate with them and participating in the overall sort of rollout of the project in terms of engaging other SADC countries, which are commonly referred to on that platform as the transition countries, because that's where power lines must traverse and connections must be made into the grid systems of these countries for that power to be delivered in the South African market. So we've remained a part of the discussions within the SADC structure, hence you see it continuing. But eventually they've managed to appoint a JV between the Chinese and the Spanish that are now going to actually do the construction of the project. And then we will offtake the power that we committed to offtake. So that project is going to be with us for a while to come as a country. And then coming to South Sudan, South Africa, through
Just
one
hold
of
question on the question regarding to the Grand Inga. Let me just make a clarification here. You can't expect to tell us that you're going to be powering South Africa from the Grand Inga project. It's not possible with the terrain and everything. So is South Africa talking about buying a concession to resell in that market with regards to the 2,500 as an investment partnership? So let's be clear on these issues. You cannot power South Africa from the Grand Inga project. You can buy and sell in the market.
May I take this?
Just a minute, Honorable Minister. I would have loved that, Honorable Nchabeling, you let her finish, even if she was to go to the other point and then come back and say you don't agree with her and so forth, so that we avoid dialogue. And I want to avoid that as much as possible. I'm not saying don't be robust and don't ask difficult questions, but let's give each other a chance to respond, ask questions, respond. It's not a train smash. Can you proceed, Minister?
No, I wanted to explain to Honorable Chabeling that in the plan for Grand Inga, it also includes a plan for transmission line, which will go through 2 countries to South Africa. So it's possible. Electricity is not loaded in a truck, it's loaded in a transmission line. It can go across borders. And in our discussion, it will go to electricity now. We also discussed the possibility of having a discussion on the involvement of Zimbabwe and Zambia as the transition line is going to cross their territory. So it's possible, Honorable Chabeling, to get electricity from the Grand Inga.
Thank you, Minister. So maybe if I may just add and close on it before I move to the other point. There is already an existing Southern African power pool, which is called shortened SAPP, where SADC countries trade with electricity. So there's quite a well-developed transmission system in the SADC that will enable this project. And then if I may move on to South Sudan, South Africa, through one of its entities, Strategic Fuel Fund, is a partner with the South Sudanese government through a SFF equivalent entity called Nile Orange. We are partners on an oil block, and currently that project is under exploration. They haven't started drilling, they're doing non-invasive exploration. Hence, then again, the honorable members will see us reporting on this project for a number of years, because it's a long-term project. It's at exploration phase. Once they make a discovery, they will start developing the block and start producing crude from that field. So I think I've covered that. Thank you so much, Honorable Chair. Thank you, Minister.
Okay. Yeah, thanks a lot on the answering. Minister, it's still not yet possible to do the powering from the Grand Inga. Until possible, we can discuss that. But anyway, moving to the next question, I think there is currently a unreported process here. According to the department's plan, there should have been a moratorium lifted in respect to the fracking program in terms of the Karoo, what do you call it, gas fracking. And we haven't had any development in respect to that process of the moratorium. What is the status and why has the moratorium not been lifted?
DDG Nzimande.
Thank you again, Honorable Chair, Minister, and colleagues. So the moratorium is in place pending the promulgation of the water regulations as well as the environmental regulations. And these 2 sets of regulations are not being developed in the DMPR, but are developed at Water and Sanitation and DFFE. We had developed these regulations in 2014. We were taken to court by environmental groups, and the court ruled that we do not have, the Minister of DMPR does not have the powers, is not the relevant authority to develop those regulations. And so the development of those regulations were then routed to the relevant departments. But there have been delays, and Minister has raised this matter, and he's due even to have a follow-up meeting with his colleagues from DFFE and Water and Sanitation for us to move with speed in finalizing the regulations. And the reason for waiting for these regulations is that currently South Africa does not have a regulatory framework to regulate shale gas development or exploitation. So we needed to have a framework in place, which we will use to license any shale gas activities. So that's where the process is at the moment. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Honorable Chair, one sentence. In brief, once we receive regulation from TFFE, we will lift the moratorium.
What is the indication, Honorable Minister, on the process happening?
Once we get regulation from TFFE, we'll lift the moratorium.
So if it's 2 years from now, will it still take that long?
If we have not received those regulations, we can't lift the moratorium. It's a court order.
Oh, okay, fine. So we don't know when it will happen. Thank you.
Actually, it should happen yesterday.
Yeah, definitely. We're 2 months late on it. I know. No, thanks a lot, Minister, on that. I think you should have lifted it when you were president 2 weeks ago. You really would have done a good deal of good work. Moving to the, this is just a simple question. Why is the, PCMRP not invited to key strategic events of the department and the department's entities? This is on a lighter note. Why is our portfolio committee never invited to the department's activities, including events, things that are happening? We just get briefed on committee work, but we never get invited to some of these critical strategic events.
I don't know which events are those in the mining in the harbor. We had a delegation from the committee. And in a number of other activities, we have invited the chairperson of the committee and few delegates. I don't know which event are you referring to.
No, it's fine. Thank you so much, Minister. I think, can we go to slide 54 quickly on this one?
You meant that you want it flighted. Now, can we flight slide 54, I think? And that should be the last question, Honorable Nchabeling, though I don't intend to be strict. We still have time.
No, it's actually flight 53 on the issue of the gas to power, outstanding achievements.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. Can we just get a clarification there as to the confirmation of the supplies? Because I see there's still a gas to power issue being handled by the department, whereas there's still another plan when you find it in the electricity and energy department. Is there a clash of projects, or this is a totally new project, the 1,000 megawatts of gas to power?
May I help there? The department was formally separated on the 31st of March. On the 1st of April, we operated as two different, and the report covers the previous period.
Okay, all right. The last one now. Reading of your fuel samples, you're showing that only 566 of the 1,080 target was achieved, only half of reading of the fuel samples in the market. Any issue, I mean, apart from the fact that you didn't have a software company or service provider, what are the problems? Why are we not reaching the target?
DDG Makubela.
No, thank you very much, Chair. Thank you, Minister. So on that one, it is just a function of the procurement that happened later on because there was a legal issue that needed to be confirmed with the state law advisor. And the response then, when it came, we had already lost a couple of months. So this is one target that every year we meet. And as I indicated earlier, if we had more in terms of budget allocation, even that we would be able to meet a higher figure. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair, I'm going to send in one question. Maybe they can give us a much more detail on it with regards to the jobs created when granting mining permit as well as petroleum permits. We just wanted to know more in depth. How is this impacting on jobs creation, creation of, almost business opportunities in the sector? But I'll send this in as a question later. Thank you so much.
Okay, I was going to allow you to raise it now.
Can I do?
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Chair. I just wanted to know how do you measure jobs created when granting new petroleum licenses? Similarly, in terms of the retail petroleum licenses, similarly, when you're granting new mining permits, how do you measure the jobs that are created and how do you keep track of that? It's more for understanding.
Okay. If I may, Honorable Minister.
Yes, DDG.
No, thank you, Chair. So with each application, there is a business plan, for example, on the petroleum side that is submitted. And that business plan has got a number of, islands that are going to be in each service station, and then the number of shifts that are going to be worked, as well as the number of employees. So that basically is what we track in as far as service stations are concerned. And you would know that this is one area where jobs are actually increasing. The retail sector, fuel retail sector, accounts for over 70,000 workers and rising because the number of service stations is increasing. On the mining side, with each application, there is a mining works program that gets submitted. And with that, there is then an indication of the number of jobs that will be enabled at each of the stages of mining. And we monitor that. And in fact, the companies have to submit on a monthly basis reports on the production as well as the number of jobs that they have sustained during the period in which they have been producing. So that's how we do have a system that tracks. And by the way, that's one area that also gets audited by the Auditor General. Thank you.
May I add one thing, Honorable Chairperson?
Go ahead.
When you apply for a license or a permit, what you do is what is called projections. It's not exact numbers. So that monitoring talks to what is projected. There may be variation depending on how big is that variation, but it's a projection because you project so many jobs when you get that license. Thank you.
Thank you very much, honorable members and honorable minister. I realize I've given Honorable Nchabeling more time. Is there anyone who feels that they want to ask a last question before I'm accused of favoritism? Honorable Zondi?
Thank you, Chairperson.
So this
Maybe
is what we're going to do. A minute and a half and a minute and a half to two to get your questions across and the responses. Honorable Zondi?
Thank you, Chairperson. It really is a question that was a follow-up to Honorable Selepe's question. With regards to the new mining cadastral system, it was said that it will track licenses that are up for review. What I'd like to know is, will this information be available to the public, so within the cadastral system itself? And maybe also if the department could just elaborate on the different features or the new features that will be implemented, which are different to the current SAMRAT system that we have. That's the first one, Chair. And maybe the other one, I did ask a question about the petroleum section of this department being neglected or seemingly being neglected. Maybe since we didn't have the minister last week, I'm not sure if, as the main shareholder at Petro SA, if he would know if we are due to meet with Gazprom Bank with regards to that deal that seems to be falling apart, and if we are, have they given a date as to when this meeting will happen, so that we do know, and if the minister would maybe keep the committee informed in terms of the timeline with regards to that particular deal, because it seems like we've been waiting for this meeting for quite a long time. And I don't think it is fair that the country has to wait on Gazprom Bank. Thank you, Chairperson.
Honorable Minister, just to give context, because I don't want you to be ambushed. Last week, when we met with SEF, they made an undertaking that there will be a meeting between SEF through Petro SA as well as Gazprom to either walk away from the deal if it's not going to work, or put conditions on how the deal must proceed, because it's not going anywhere. So that background is a bit important, so that you know that there is an undertaking made in your absence. Can you proceed?
Now, let me take the last one. The first one, Makubela will deal with. I think, Honorable Chairperson, if the entity comes to the portfolio committee last week and it says we're going to have this meeting with Gazprom because we had an agreement with Gazprom and a contract, there's no execution. We're dealing with that reality. Now, to ask us a question to say, will you meet tomorrow or the other day, borders on micromanagement. And micromanagement is one weakness, is that it puts you on terms and it is looking for faults. What is important for the portfolio committee is that we are talking to Gazprom and the intention is two options. We either cancel the contract with them and look for a new partner, or if there's something different, start executing the project. That is what is subjected to the committee. As we proceed with that process, we have a duty and an obligation to come back to the committee and report this is how far we have gone with the process. But I'm sorry, Honorable Chairperson, to go to the extent of saying We'll meet tomorrow or the other day. That is micromanagement. I don't think it is how it should be working. Thank you.
Honorable, thank you, Honorable Ntangwini. Honorable Ntangwini.
I'm covered, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, I'll take it that Honorable Nchabeleng's hand is. Yes, Honorable Zondi.
There was one outstanding question from my
Oh,
two
yes.
questions. Yeah.
Okay.
DDG Makubela on the cadastral system.
Okay, no, thank you very much. Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Chair. So on the cadastral system, as we had indicated, it is going to be a fully transparent system, and it will contain all information. What we would recommend perhaps is that when the committee program allows, we be allowed to come and give a more detailed presentation on the features of the system, because it is going to be quite informative to investors, the way it is structured, if that is allowed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Makubele, Minister, and honorable members. I think the question session now will be closed. I just want to say a few things, Minister. One, what Honorable Nchabeleng is asking about, why is the committee not invited? We just get reports and all of that. I must just give a background to honorable members and yourself, Honorable Minister, that I raised this issue as soon as the 6th administration, and you corrected it, and we appreciated that you gave an instruction. However, that instruction, Minister, is executed as and when officials feel like, and I was going to raise it with you. A perfect example would be today there is a junior mining in Daba. I don't know who's supposed to be communicating it, courtesy. We don't know about it. Honorable Lorima is there, but he's not representing the committee. He got the information how he got it. Last week you had a launch of Sunpack. Even the institution actually asked us, why are you not in that historic event that is taking place in Johannesburg? We said, but there's no invitation. And we only knew about it when we were in a meeting with SEF. So I'm just saying, having appreciated your instruction that I know you have given, there's still some loose ends in terms of communication. I must, however, acknowledge that the DG called me while the event is proceeding to apologize that there has been a miscommunication, but this miscommunication seems to happen every time. So maybe we need to tighten that point, Honorable Minister. It's coming from a good heart, and I think the question from Honorable Nchabeleng was also coming from that good heart. The second point.
No, sorry.
Yes.
Can I deal with that?
Yes, it's fine. Let's deal with.
I think what will help, Honorable Chairperson, is for us to sit and actually identify areas where we want to be involved. I'm making that point because there are areas where we are operational. And when we're operational, we do certain things, we account to this committee. And if we're not careful, we might actually blur the boundaries between the various arms of government. and take the committee to an operational activity. And when you invite us, we ask questions justifiable. So, but you were there. Why do you ask us questions? Because you are part of the operations. And I think we have to sit down and identify the nature of areas that we should be working together. I'm making this point because the launching of the SNPC last week was operational, and basically people we invited there were potential customers and clients of the entity, with an operational entity of the department. But let's clarify these issues more, because there will be issues that ideally we should not be involved. It's like when you go to an oversight, Honorable Chairperson, when you go to an oversight deliberately, I refuse to go. And the reason for that is you are doing an oversight on the work that I should have done. If I become part of the oversight, we blur the distinction between the arms of government. But let's clarify it clearly and discuss about this issue, because we'll complain about various issues and without making a clear distinction about them. That is my appeal, Honorable Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. I think I welcome us to debate what is operational, what is an event, because launching something is an event, it's not operational, but it's okay. But it borders on courtesy. You are not forced to invite us and all of that, but it's just courtesy, even to inform us at times, not to invite us, just to inform us that we will be launching such an important event, and then we acknowledge it, watch it on TV. We don't have a problem with that. The other issue I wanted to raise, Honorable Minister, is an issue you keep repeating, and it's mostly asked by Honorable Ntangwini, which I don't think is correct. You know, when Thabo Bester went out of that prison, the Committee on Correctional Services called the authorities there and the department to come and account about it. They did not say that issue belongs to the police only. When Parliament was banned, the Committee on Public Works and that of Parliament was called to account on what happened, together with the police. It was not a matter of the police only that I can name many of them. The collapse of a building in George, Public Works was called to account, as well as labor, because there were workers who were not having papers and all of that. So the issue of illegal mining will still exist and be with us, Minister, for the longest of time. It's not only a matter of police. It belongs to this committee and the department. The fact that it's a criminal activity, we acknowledge that. But the responsibility lies with the department to make sure that in future, one day, we don't have these things. And it borders on whether do we have policy to eradicate these holes and so forth. So we can't say it's painful to come and account on illegal mining that does not belong to us. So you will still be called to talk about the scourge of illegal mining in the committee. That will still happen, Minister. Yeah, those are the things that I wanted to say. I'll give you parting shots, Minister, before I make announcements and we go to another item outside you.
Oh, thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I would like to sit in there, and I'm going to submit a complaint that we're not invited in some of the sessions.
Like which one?
Like this one, after this one, the session that is closed, you are not invited to it.
Yeah,
It's
no.
a joke, it's a joke, it's a joke.
Yes.
No, I agree with you, Honorable Chairperson, wholly. The issue I'm raising on illegal mining is the context. there must be a sense of us understanding distinction between the work we do in respect of ownerless and derelict mines and the actual illegal mining as an activity. I don't have a sense of that distinction. That is the only issue I'm raising. I don't say, don't talk about illegal mining where we are. We are obliged to report on the number of holdings we have closed per annum, the size of the budget we are allocated, that we are obliged to report here.
Yes. Are you still there, Minister?
No. The point I'm raising is simple. Let's understand the distinction. The sense, the reason that I'm saying sometimes, the sense that we feel that that distinction is not being made is that the context and the nature of questions that we're expected to answer sometimes talk to the issues that are actually directed by the police. For example, we reported here on Stilfontein, but on reporting on Stilfontein, we had to say, in terms of the police report, about 1,500 people came out of Stilfontein. Of those people, 900 and something were from Zimbabwe. So many are from Mozambique, so many from Lesotho, and so forth and so forth. That is a summary of a report that we bring here. We have a duty to do so. And also say 21 of that 1,500 were South Africans. And therefore appeal to the committee to say, can the committee help us develop a framework of dealing with this, which make a distinction between the impact of poverty and desperation of South Africans and the criminal activities by foreign nationals, which happens in many other areas of the economy? I think we should develop that framework. So I'm not saying don't talk about illegal mining here, it's police. That's not what I'm saying. The context of the areas that we must account here. The last point is, thank you very much for interrogating our strategy. We were quite serious about it, by the way. I must say that we look into it, we try to execute to the best of our ability. And I can remind you, Chairperson, that we have been to Alexco now. You can call us next time, we'll give you a different report, having been there. Because what we do, what we discuss in this committee, we take serious. And when we leave this committee, we go out to execute the issue. And we think we have a duty to come back and report here. But I hope we had authority to call the committee meeting sometime. Now, it's outside of our control. But we are obliged to report to this committee. And we're not feeling the pains of reporting this committee. And this new system works better. The only thing that I was feeling uncomfortable was every time we call it DDG was not there. Went to a junior mining in Daba, which is organized by a man called Bernard Swanepoel, by the way. It's organized by a man called Bernard Swanepoel, junior mining in Daba. And we're almost invitees there, though we impose ourselves on these events that it is mining, we must be involved. So we hear you. Thank you very much for your advices and your questions. We appreciate the questions, but please, let's work together in making the sector better. Today, Harmony is announcing, Honorable Chairperson, an acquisition of a copper mine in Australia. Tomorrow night, we'll be launching the new company that comes out of Anglo Platinum. It's an event, we'll be there, following the annual general meeting of the Mineral Council there. I'm not inviting you there, it's their event, but I'm going. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, and thanks for the courtesy of informing us on the events to follow. can we agree that those that who from your department, from our side, who wants to be released, will be released? Actually, we are going to Alexco ourselves, Honorable Minister. We're just waiting for approval from the chair of chairs, but we're going there to see for ourselves and listen and compare what we are told and what we are seeing. So it will be, and I imagine that it will be a very good discussion that we will have in the coming session that speaks about Alexco. Indeed, let's work together, the committee and the department, and let's be robust. Let's continue to be robust. This new system, yes, it's working today. It was challenging because we are not in one room, but it has proven to be working and we will continue with it. Thank you very much, Minister, and your team. Ms. Boss, can we flight the agenda again?
Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye, Minister.
While you do that, Honorable Nchabeleng, can you lower your hand so that I know next time that it's a new hand, so that I'm able to recognize you?
I've lowered it, Chair. Thank you so much.
It's still there. I'm not sure whether you're using, there are two gadgets on my screen. But it's not a, while you try to do that, it's not a train smash. Who is taking us through the report? Honorable,
will do, Chair.
we are dealing with the oversight visit to the Western Cape. If you remember, it's a continuation of what we did in Mpumalanga and Free State, but we visited in different days. So let's get a report so that we adopt it, and we will be expected to go and report to the National Assembly and make declarations. Ms. Masuta?
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon to all the honorable members. I hope that the screen is visible.
Yes, it's visible.
Okay. This is the draft report on the oversight visit to the Western Cape. I will jump straight to the committee observations and recommendations. This is in section 5 of the report. The committee observations. This section provides a synopsis of the key issues observed by the committee, particularly emanating from presentations, discussions, and the site visit. The first one is the committee learned that SFF received notification from the department regarding the oversight visit scheduled for March 2025 at approximately 1 p.m., which was only 1 day prior to the visit. The committee expressed dissatisfaction with this timing, as it could adversely affect the quality of information that SFF would provide. It was decided that the committee would address this issue with the department. With the split of the department during the current administration, the powers of SFF are also split between the two departments. The streamlining of the powers is essential for effective performance of the entity. The third point, the committee expressed concern regarding the lack of assurance from the SFF about the adequacy of crude oil supplies to meet the country's needs during fuel crisis. Fourth point, the committee is pleased to note that the Saldanha Storage Terminal has the capacity to accommodate the construction of 2 additional tanks, as the initial plan included the construction of 8 tanks. The fifth point, the committee expressed its concerns regarding the unclear deadline for the merger of the 3 entities, that is SFF, Petro SA, and iGas. Sixth point, the ownership of infrastructure, including the pipeline between Astron Energy and the SFF, needs clarification. SFF operates oil pollution control facilities designed to minimize environmental risks during the loading and unloading of oil tanks in Saldanha Bay. Following its merger with Oil Pollution Control South Africa, OPCSA, SFF has become the only company in South Africa equipped with the necessary tools and expertise to manage major oil spills exceeding 500 tons. Oil pollution control at SFF is currently inadequate due to operational challenges. As a result, third-party services are occasionally utilized to address the issue. The committee expressed satisfaction with the plans of the Avadia liquefied petroleum gas LPG loading facility. The committee acknowledged the agreement signed by SFF with Wildcat Petroleum to engage in upstream acquisitions in South Sudan. For the SFF Milnerton Tank Farm, it is important to note that in April 2025, experts will be consulted to develop a business case for refurbishing the tanks. This analysis will help determine potential uses for the tanks, among other considerations. The committee was pleased to learn about the improvements made at Astron Energy to prevent the reoccurrence of the tragic incident that resulted in the deaths of 2 individuals and injury to others. Additionally, the committee appreciates the company's support for the affected families. And the last point under observations, Astron Energy assured the committee it will meet the 2027 cleaner fuels implementation deadline as the upgrading work is progressing well. I'll stop there, Chair.
Honorable members, can you go to recommendations, Ms. Masuta, as well, so that we deal with them together?
Okay, Chair. Section 6 is the committee recommendations. Having conducted the oversight visit, the Portfolio Committee on Mineral and Petroleum Resources recommends that the Minister of Mineral and Petroleum Resources initiate a strategic discussion between SFF and Astron Energy concerning the pipeline infrastructure. The second is to ensure monitoring of the refurbishment of the Milnerton tank farms and provide an update to Parliament by the 4th quarter of the current financial year. The third is to monitor the progress of Wildcat SFF deal and provide an update to Parliament during the 3rd quarter of the current financial year. The fourth, provide support and monitor progress of the Avadia liquefied petroleum gas loading facility. And the last recommendation, to conduct a thorough review of legislative requirements that adversely impact the petroleum industry, particularly focusing on the carbon tax and import policies in collaboration with the pertinent ministers, considering that countries from which South Africa imports fuel do not face the similar taxation. That's the end of the recommendations and the observations, Chair.
Honorable members, there is the report, and I must acknowledge that people who attended there was myself, Honorable Zondi, Lorima, Ntlangwini, and Mhlongo, but we are not going to stop other members from commenting. We'll just guide where we think we need to, because we were there. Can I have hands, Honorable Zondi?
Thank you, Chairperson. Before I move the report, can I request that we add another recommendation there, that the committee requests for a report on progress with regards to the implementation of the Clean Fuels 2 guidelines from Astron, Sasol, and affected industry, and that this report be biannually, so twice a year until the deadline of July 2027 for Clean Fuels 2.
Okay. I think that is in order. Any other issue, honorable members? Is there anyone who wants to raise an issue? As I was explaining, honorable members, why the reason why other honorable members did not go to this oversight was because, for instance, we have members of electricity here who had to go for their oversight on the same date, but we had to undergo this oversight ourselves. So if there is no other take on the recommendations and the observations, can I therefore ask a mover for adoption? With the amendment that Honorable Zondi made?
Chairperson, I'll move the report with the amendment.
Thank you. Honorable Zondi moves for the adoption with an amendment. Any seconder?
Chair, I second the report with amendments.
Thank you very much. Having received a seconder for the with the amendment, the report has been adopted. Can we move to the minutes? Ms. Boss?
Yes, Chair, we're doing the minutes of the 1st of April.
Can you move? Is the register in order, honorable members? Just check your name if it's not there and you were there. Just to refresh the, go back to the topic of the discussion on the day. This is a meeting where we were tabling discussions of the correspondences received by the committee. We were reporting back on the meetings that the chairperson has had with stakeholders, and we were considering adoption of the other minutes. So if you think your name has not been captured, please indicate. So I will say page 2. Anyone has a view to raise? Page 3. Page 3, page 4. There's nobody who is making additions. Can I check for a mover of adoption of the minutes? Honorable Mfugeng.
Thank you, Chairperson. I move for adoption of the minutes. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any seconder? Honorable Hassan.
Thank you, Chair. I'm happy to second the adoption of the minutes.
Thank you. The minutes are duly adopted. The next item on the agenda, I suppose, is this the other set of minutes?
Yes, Chair, we've got 4 sets of minutes. 1st of April, 22nd April, 13 May, and last week's one, Chair.
Okay. Consideration and adoption of the second term committee briefing by the Auditor General, which did not happen. Can you move slow? I prefer honorable members to see their names before we move in terms of attendance, because it makes it easier to know who must adopt and who can't adopt. Can you move? The second page. Third page. Any mover for the adoption of the minutes?
Chair, Member Hassan.
Honorable.
Thank you. I'm happy to move for the adoption of this set of minutes as a true reflection.
Thank you. Any seconder? Honorable Selepe.
I second the move for the minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. The minutes are duly adopted. Next set of minutes. This is the petition from Mr. Graython. Attendance, just slower. Proceed. Page 2. Page 3. Page 3. Page 4. Any mover for the adoption of the minutes? Honorable members. Honorable Zondi.
Thank you, Chairperson. I'll move the minutes.
Thank you, Honorable Zondi. Any seconder? Honorable members.
I second, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Nchabeling. The minutes are duly adopted. Do we have the last set or we're done? Ms.
Last
Boss?
one, Chair. Last week's.
Last week we were briefed by the SEF group and Petro SA, the attendance. The second page, proceed. Third page. The fourth page. Thank you, honorable members. Any mover for the adoption of the minutes?
I move to adopt.
Honorable Nchabeling moves for the adoption. Any seconder? Honorable, I saw a hand. Okay, Honorable Hassan, your hand is up.
Chair, I'm happy to also move for the adoption of this set.
Thank you very much. The minutes are duly adopted. Do we go to announcements?
Yes, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Honorable members, we will have a joint meeting next week, Tuesday, on the 3rd of June, with the Portfolio Committee on Science, Technology, and Innovation. The reason why they asked for a joint meeting is that they will be receiving a briefing on the Research, Development, and Innovation program of initiatives that focus on mineral beneficiation and the Mandela Mining Precinct. So they've requested that we have a joint meeting, and that's what we are going to have. We needed to move one or two things, but we didn't tamper with the program itself. Ms. Boss will communicate the venue once the two committees have finalized where the venue is and all the details and documentation. The second announcement is that on Friday, on the 23rd of May, we received another petition from the Office of the Speaker relating to rehabilitation of the Witherrow Dam Quarry in Heideldal, Bloemfontein. The support staff, the team, is getting more information before sending to members because the speaker just wrote a letter and gave a link which just had a complaint, but there are no details. Before we distribute to members, we are getting more information so that we can familiarize ourselves with the issue. The same process we have done with and still going to do with Mr. Creighton is going to happen even on this petition. We're going to call the petitioner, and dependent on the information we are getting, we'll have to go and see what is going on and have the department responding to some of the questions that need to be responded to. Finally, we revised the dates for the oversight visit to Alexco to finalize the first petition by Mr. Creighton. We are still awaiting approval from the chairperson, chair of chairs, and in due course, Ms. Boss will finalize. I hope honorable members will respond on time on their availability and where they are coming from and where they wish to return to. Any issue on the announcements? Ordinarily, there shouldn't be, but any question? I'll take it, it's clear. Let me take this opportunity, honorable members, to thank you. We know we had not planned to have this meeting. You probably were going to rest or do other things, but I'm happy that we managed to put aside the quarterly reports and let's see each other in the house, those that are going to the president's questions, or otherwise we see each other next week, Tuesday. Thank you very much, honorable members. The meeting stands adjourned.
Thank you, Chair.
Thanks,
Thank
Chair.
you.